down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TogChat Live. Get ready for 60 minutes of wall-to-wall photography, including photo news, tips, and your photography questions in real time, with answers from your host, Olympus Visionary Joe Edelman.
Hey gang, that's me. I'm your host, Joe Edelman, and thank you for joining me for another live episode of TogChat. As always, I'm going to do my best in the next 90 minutes to help you answer the questions about the hows and whys behind making great photographs. As always, gang, do me a favor. Let your friends know that we're here. Facebook, Twitter, you know they're the easiest way to get the word out. You can click that share button that's like right down there below the video, okay? Or you can use the link that I will paste into the chat window right now. It is tog.chat/live. And please check in. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're from. Steve's here from Michigan. I've got Lynn from New York, Ken in Cheshire in the UK. Natasha's here from Memphis, Keith in France, Susan in Melbourne. Happy tomorrow, Susan. I've got Jean-Edward here from over there in, the Netherlands area. And I've got Darkling 2004 from El Paso. We got people from everywhere. Russ in New Zealand. You guys are awesome. It's like so cool. Mike Zupanak, I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Pixel Photo Fest. What is that, like 2.5 weeks? Should be an awesome event. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. And no lie, gang, I have like 3 questions lined up. And we got 90 minutes to talk. So I need some topics here. Throw some stuff in there. If you're here, I mean, come on. If you're here, I got to be believing that the goal is you're here to learn something, or you're just hoping Joe goes off the rails and, does a rant, okay? But otherwise, I would hope that you're here to learn something. So what kind of stuff are you struggling with? What kind of stuff are you needing help with? Talk to me. Let's do this, all right? So couple quick announcements, because September's like a crazy busy month coming up, but that's cool because it's busy in the sense that I get to travel and I get to meet you folks, like face to face. So I just want to switch the screen over here really quick and go over a couple of the things that I have coming up, just in case you haven't heard me talk about them before, because they're coming up fast and I don't want you to miss out. So first of all, September 7th and 8th. So this is coming up really quick. I'm going to be in Berkeley, California, which, in case you don't know, that's like right outside of Oakland, not far from San Francisco. So, Northern California, easy drive from kind of like any of those places, right? I'm going to be doing a 2-day event, a weekend, at Looking Glass Photo in Berkeley. On the Saturday, the 7th, I'm going to do a demo in the morning, which is about creating my bold fashion portraits with small lights. But in the afternoon, we're going to do a 4-hour hands-on workshop where the attendees are actually going to get to shoot the beauty shots with me as their assistants and their mentors in the process. And then the next day, on the Sunday, we're going to start out bright and early so that we're not dealing with any crazy heat, but we're going to do a photo walk around Berkeley with some models that's all about finding good light any time of day, anywhere, and also finding good backgrounds. So no expensive lighting, no high-speed sync, no overpowering the sun. We're going to use reflectors. We're going to use natural light. And we're going to have a great time. And then the big one, the one that I got to tell you, I'm honestly really, really excited about. So this is September 13th, 14th, and 15th. This is a 3-day event. It's in Cleveland, Ohio. It's being held at Cleveland State University. I am going to be the keynote speaker for the upcoming Pixel Photo Fest, which is put on by the Pixel Connection. So for those of you that are not familiar with Pixel Photo Fest, this is a brand new event. This is its 2nd year. So it's like just getting started. In fact, what I want to do, bad on me. Let me share with you, first of all, here's the link with all the info to check out the stuff for Berkeley, California, and to sign up if you're interested, okay? And if you are interested in Pixel Photo Fest, let me get you that link right here, okay? So again, it's a 3-day event. The really, really cool part, I get to kick it off as the keynote speaker. My keynote talk on Friday morning, the opening day of the event, is something that you folks hear me talk about routinely, but believe me, you've never heard me talk about it this way, and that is that if you want to be successful as a photographer, then don't be afraid to suck, period, okay? And as the weekend goes on, I will be doing 3 different workshops. One is a photo walk similar to what I'm going to do in Berkeley, California. It's all about finding great light anywhere. But this one will be a little bit different because it's going to be in the evening from 6:30 until 9 o'clock at night. And then I'm also going to be doing a fashion portraiture demo. This is a 3-hour workshop, so we're talking a deep dive. And the other one is all about lighting wizardry, where we're going to get into modifiers, color gels, why, how, all that good stuff. And really, it's kind of a masterclass in why. That's what it's all about. But look at this speaker lineup, gang. Scott Robert Lim, who is a Sony ambassador. Lindsay Adler, Canon Explorer of Light. And I know I'm going to forget who some of these people are ambassadors with, but Megan Lokes, Miguel Giles, Griffin Hammond. This is just an awesome, awesome lineup of speakers. So that is September 13th, 14th, and 15th. And then for those of you that are on the eastern part of the country, maybe a little bit further south, let me switch back here. On September 25th, I'm going to be down at Biggs Camera in Charlotte, North Carolina, doing an event down there. So more to come on that. And by the way, remember, because the early bird discount ends August 31st, in October, that's going to be October 12th and 13th, here in Allentown, in this studio right here, I'm going to be doing a 2-day fashion portraiture experience. The first day is the learning day, where you will learn about how I do what I do, hands-on, and you will see it firsthand. But the second day, let me just actually get that link for you guys here. The second day, you will be shooting. You will be shooting using my models, using my makeup artists, and you will go home with images that are unique to your portfolio. In other words, it's a small group, 7 attendees max, and you will be shooting your own shots. The other attendees will not be shooting shots that you shoot. So everybody's going to go home with their own unique images from the event. So a lot of cool stuff coming up. I'm really looking forward to it. And you guys are the best, because like I am seeing all these questions come in. Keep them coming, gang. Like, we got time for a lot more questions, all right? So again, please, you know, summer's almost over, right? Labor Day's right around the corner. Fall and then spring, those are kind of the big learning seasons. You know, I will be at Photo Plus this year in October. Hope to see a lot of you there. I just found out this past week I'm going to be speaking at WPPI. I'll be doing a masterclass at WPPI this year, so I'm looking forward to that. So a lot of cool stuff on the horizon. You know, if you had to choose, gang, and I mean this sincerely, right? If you had to choose between being able to learn from someone in person at an event where, you know, where you're going to get more than, you know, 60 minutes or something, but you're really going to have an opportunity to learn, or watching their YouTube videos, trust me, learn in person. In person, you get to ask questions. In person, you get to actually see the process. None of, you know, that. Todd, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You know, none of the razzle dazzle, the video stuff. So obviously, we all prioritize our gear. Gear is important. We want gear. We need gear, you know, but learning requires effort. It requires time. And sometimes it requires a little bit of money. So obviously, be smart about how you spend your money. Be smart about how you put it to use. But I will tell you, you know, events like Pixel Photo Fest, these guys that, you know, that run the Pixel Connection in Ohio, that are putting this event together, it's going to be an amazing event. It's, from what I understand, this will be my first time there. Remember, it's a 2-year-old event. My understanding is it's similar in structure to the way that Shutterfest is done. However, and I'll get myself in trouble for saying this, but so be it. I'm going to say it. I spoke at Shutterfest this past year, right? I was there, and I'm doing the Pixel Photo Fest. Look at the lineup of speakers. There's no comparison. And I don't mean because I'm there. I mean the other speakers, okay? Lindsay Adler, Scott Robert Lim, Miguel Giles, all of that list. This is a hardcore list of speakers that are going to be at Pixel Photo Fest. So I hope to see you guys there. And here's the last piece. So you ready? This is going to be a bit of a free-for-all, but I found out today that I have, in fact, here, let me bring this back up on the screen here. So this is my last thing for you guys, and then we're gonna dive into the questions. So Pixel Photo Fest. So the great part about this event, so again, it happens at Cleveland State University. So it's kind of like, you know, downtown Cleveland. For full access 3-day pass, it's only $169. And by the way, there's a full trade show there. You know, all the camera manufacturers are going to be there. A lot of the accessory companies are going to be there. You know, Olympus is going to be there. All those people are going to be there. For $169, you get access to what is actually a 4-day event, because the preview party is Thursday night, keynote 8:30 a.m. on Friday morning, and then stuff all day Friday, Friday evening, Saturday, Saturday evening, Sunday, and then Sunday night is the closing party. So big event. I will be there literally all weekend. That means when I'm not teaching, I'll be teaching about 3 to 4 hours a day. I will be roaming around, hanging out at the trade show, taking in some of the other classes. There's a couple speakers that I'm actually really looking forward to seeing. There's a few that I've seen before, but there are a couple that I'm not that familiar with the work, and a couple whose work I'm very familiar with, but I'm really anxious to learn from them directly. So I will be attending some of those as well. But here's the cool part. That 3-day all access pass, I have 2 of them to give away. Now here's the catch. So listen closely. Please, I'm begging you, do not ask me for this pass unless you are going to attend. So that's September 13th, 14th, and 15th. And if you can get there on the 12th, there's the opening party that evening, right? All the information about hotels and that. And I will also tell you the 2 hotels that are listed on the website, there are cheaper ones very nearby. I'm not staying at one of those 2 hotels. I'm picking a Marriott that's less expensive and actually closer than those 2 hotels. So if you can't make it for sure, please don't ask for the passes. I want to make sure that these passes get used, that they go to people who are going to show up and really like dig in and bust their butts for 3 days to learn. So here's what you got to do. It's real simple. And it's first come, first serve, gang, right? Email me. Email me. Tell me that you want it. Don't tell me anything else. I don't want any other information. Just tell me that you want the passes, that I will go if I get the pass. The first 2 that come in, and I'm not going to be able to check it until I get off the air, but the first 2 that come in, I will respond back to you tonight and tell you what you need to do to get the passes. And make sure you look for that email and make sure you respond to me right away, because registration for the classes opened up today. So I want you to make sure that you can get in, or open up yesterday, excuse me. I want you to make sure that you can get into the different classes and workshops that you want to, all right? So again, I've got 2 free passes that I'll give away tonight to you folks. If you're watching this recorded, if you're not watching this live, I'm really sorry, but they're gone. These passes will go quickly, okay? All right, gang. So let's get to the questions. I see a bunch of stuff flying in here. So let me just tweak my screen here really quick. So I'm going to work backwards because I know we got a bunch, but keep them coming, right? Let's see. Charles, Duck Unitas, your workshop sounds great. What a fantastic price. I can't do anything this year. You know, Charles, I hope to run it again next year. Obviously, we'll see how it goes this year. I've had a lot of interest so far, so I'm optimistic that this one will fill up. And it's definitely, it's kind of a new way of doing the workshop for me. In the past, my workshops have been just completely about teaching, me teaching, and that's it. And I realized that while people go home and they will, hands down, without me asking, say, my God, I learned so much and it was overwhelming and all this and that, what they're not doing then is they're not actually walking out with the confidence to be able to use the techniques, to put them to use. So basically, the way this is going to work, I'm going to force them to use it, right? Like one-on-one, they call the shots. And I've been doing this in a lot of my demos out on the road lately. And you know what? People love it and people get involved. I've had groups of 20 and 25 people where there's one person that's calling the shots, but everybody else is pitching in with ideas or holding gear or moving stuff around. And it truly becomes a collaborative process. So yeah, I think I've got a kind of a nice system for it now. And to be able to do it here and just to hang out for 2 days and have all of my gear available. You know, when I travel, I'm traveling with very limited gear. It's got to go on an airplane, right? So to be able to have all the cool toys here and everything that I work with, yeah, and of course to have, you know, my makeup artists and models that I know and am very familiar with, definitely it'll be awesome to work with. So, all right. So let's see here. Darklink 2004. Hey Joe, have you ever used any client management software for your studio work? Are there any that you would personally recommend? Interesting, you should ask. Short answer is I have not in the past until very recently. So understand that my career, you know, as we go over 40 plus years, because I'm old, right? Started as a newspaper photographer, then like an idiot, and I say idiot because I had no idea what I was doing, I opened a portrait and wedding business and a studio, and survived and actually wound up thriving, but just because I was willing to work harder than anybody else, I had no clue what I was into. Then I started doing commercial advertising work. Then I was doing a little bit of event work mixed in with that. Then I started doing the fashion work and the modeling portfolio work, and that eventually led me to this. So ironically, today, I don't have nearly as much of a need for what is referred to in the tech world. So here, let's teach you all some tech in case you don't know this, okay? I don't have as much of a need for what's referred to as a CRM. CRM, and I'm going to throw another acronym in and then I'll explain them. CRMs are what are referred to in the tech world as SaaS solutions, SaaS. So we've got CRM and SaaS, right? CRM is client relationship management tool or customer relationship management tool, okay? SaaS is software as a solution. So it's SaaS, excuse me, SaaS. Yeah, I'll be all right. So we've got customer relation management tools that are software as a solution programs. So that basically what that means, gang, it's something that you're usually going to subscribe to. You will pay essentially a fee, whether it be monthly or annual, and it will tie in the case of a CRM, which is what Darklink is talking about here, it will tie into your calendars, it will tie into your email accounts, some of them have booking capabilities, all that kind of stuff. So recently, I was contacted by the folks at a program called Honeybook, Honeybook. In fact, here, I'll bring it up on a browser and show you guys. Now, I will tell you, go easy, because you caught me a little bit unprepared. This was on my, my radar to start talking to you guys about next week. When I talk to you about it next week, I will have some discount codes. I don't have the discount codes tonight, right? But I am working with this because, so let me explain to you why this one works for me. And I have been in communication with the company, right? So full disclosure, okay? They are gonna provide me with some discounts to give to people, like substantial ones, like 50% off, the whole bit. What I'm really liking about this today, or at this point for me, since I don't have as much actual customer relationships to manage, I love the invoicing aspects of it, I love the task aspects of it, and I love the project tracking. It allows me to keep things on track, stay focused with deadlines that I've got to meet, stuff that I've got to get out the door, talks that I have to plan, workshops that I have to plan, all that kind of stuff. The calendar tie-ins, all that, outstanding. But I want to drop another, in response to your question there, Darklink, I want to drop another little utility on you guys. So bear with me 1 second here. If you are building a business as a photographer, and I mean sincerely, gang, building a business. In other words, if you are in the process of trying to make money, legit, not dreaming about it, thinking about it, talking about it because it sounds cool and impressive to all your buddies. I mean, if you're really, really trying to make money, understand that SaaS solutions, software as a solution, are outstanding utilities to save you time, to save you effort, to save you money, and to streamline your workflow. I use quite a few of them. Here's the downside, gang, because I've made this all sound so exciting. These SaaS solutions, they're expensive. So that's why I'm saying, if you're just dreaming about making money, no. You do not need a SaaS solution. If you're making money and trying to figure out how to make more money, SaaS solutions can be extremely helpful and beneficial. But you're going to pay anywhere from, depending on what type of program it is, anywhere from like maybe $12 a month to as much as $100 or $200 a month. Oh yeah. So I'm talking about you really need to make money. But what I want you to do, and so by the way, actually, let me give you the link for Honeybook here. And you guys can start the free trial, but next week I'll be able to give you the discount codes, okay? So there's the link for honeybook.com. The other site I want you to know about, and I have no affiliation with this site other than the fact that I'm a member, right? I signed up, I'm a member. But AppSumo is a company that works with a lot of these SaaS solution companies as startups. In other words, when they're just beginning. And AppSumo will promote them to their user base. And in exchange, if you're an AppSumo member, you can buy lifetime access to that SaaS solution, generally between $49 and $79. So in other words, this would be something that can cost $300, $400, $500, $800, $900 a year for as long as you use it. But you pay $49 or $79 once as an early customer and you have full access. I have gotten a lot of my SaaS solutions through this program because I was very fortunate early on in the process of me building this YouTube presence and the teaching programs that I do. I had a friend turn me on to AppSumo, and it has been just a lifesaver in terms of, one, saving me money, two, teaching me about utilities that could make my work easier and faster, utilities that I didn't even know existed. So again, I have no affiliation with AppSumo. I have been in touch with the folks at Honeybook, and I'm going to be telling you guys a lot more about them, and I've got some discount codes coming. But there are lots of, so Darklane, to get back to your specific question, there are lots of different CRMs that are out there. I saw somebody, let me just find it here, WorkPix 360 mentioned, I use and recommend Zoho. Zoho's a good one. I'm not a fan, so let me say that. But I have used it. I have worked with it in the past. With all of these, even with Honeybook, gang, it's worth doing the free trial to see what it offers you. Because what you need to understand is that having the most potential features is not necessarily a good thing. It can actually just bog things down in terms of what you need to do. So you want to find the one that is going to kind of hit the check marks that you need, help you streamline things, and go from there. But Zoho is really well known. Also, a program that's very particularly popular with photographers is 17 Hats. So it's the number 17hats.com. That's another one that's really popular. Yeah, oh, S. Broderick, you know what? You are correct. I'm incorrect. Software as a service, excuse me. My son would be kicking my butt right now. He's a tech guy. Yes, software as a service, okay? You are absolutely correct about that, okay? So anyway, that's my answer to that one, Darklake. I hope that helps, but I would encourage you to check them out. Steven Rodriguez, I'm curious. You like my videos, but you hate the slow mode in the comments. Why? Do you need to type really fast? Like, I'm curious. Like, seriously, give me a reason not to have the slow mode, Steven. Let me tell you my reason first, and then I'd love to hear your reason with respect to my reason. The reason why I've done slow mode is because there are trolls / a-holes who like to go and just simply be disruptive. If you go back a while, and it's actually pretty hysterical, I'm not gonna lie, there was one night where I was doing a TogChat and the flat earthers took over. And literally they come in and they spam your chat window, and it's just like, all of a sudden your chat window just starts, it just takes off and flies through, and it's all posts about flat earth stuff. Other times there will people that will come in and they decide, hey, I want to be the teacher. To hell with Joe Edelman, I'm going to be the teacher. And they just take over the chat window, and they're answering everybody's questions, and they're telling people this, and they're telling people that, and there's people being a jerk, and it's this and that. And I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to give you my attention, but I hope you understand, obviously I need to pay attention to the chat window to get questions and to interact with people. So For the longest time, Steve, I set it at 90 and then even 120 seconds. Right now, it's just set at 60 seconds, slow mode, right? So it just means you can only post one time a minute. That's all. I used to do it 90 and 120 to try and prevent that. So I've loosened up on it a lot, but you know, unfortunately, even last week, and fortunately the gentleman was great about it. I had a guy come in and he was trying to be helpful, but you know, he was like, it's like having two teachers in the classroom. So give me a good reason, you know. All right, Stephen, I'll give you points for that one. I hate waiting forever to tell you that I subscribe to your channel. Thank you. I love you too. But seriously, that's the only reason I do it. And you know, the great part of it is, I will tell you honestly, Stephen, compared to where I started like a year ago, I've really managed to develop an amazing audience. Not the biggest audience on YouTube, but it's an amazing audience of really, really respectful people that really come out to learn. So it's not as big a problem. So I'll make you a deal, right? I probably shouldn't announce this in advance, but I'll make you a deal. Next week, I'll turn off the slow mode. And we'll see how it goes, right? And as long as I can kind of continue the current you know, pace, we'll do it. So Jimmy Hill, yeah, God, I'm sorry. I know it's kind of like the Santa Claus thing, but the earth is not flat. You know, guys, seriously, if the earth was flat, think about it. If the earth was flat, cats would have pushed everything off the edge already, right? They just would have. So that's a meme somewhere. Anyway, so let's see here. Kevin Mandera, okay, you have an EM1 Mark II, still new to it, but you figured out most of it. Good for you. The biggest remaining problem is that the focus point moves on its own if I put the camera down and pick it back up. That sounds interesting. I can't say that I have run into that problem, but let me kind of, let me stick that in the back of my head this week. And if you come back next week and remind me about that, I will see if I can, you know, get you an answer. There is essentially basically like a home point that you can set for the focus spot. And off the top of my head, I should know this. It's really bad. I don't know this. I think there is kind of another switch that you set that basically leaves the focus spot where you leave it. So let me check on that, because I should know that, but I don't run into that problem, so it's not something that's been top of mind. But yeah, I'll see what I can find out for you, okay? WorkPix 360, rather focus on what you can teach us about running photography business. You know, it's interesting. I love talking about the business stuff, but when I tried doing the business TogChats, like essentially nobody was showing up. So that being said, WorkPix 360, if you have specific questions or things that you would like input on, type them in there, man. I will not ignore them. I love it when we get business questions in here, because I love it when people get to that point, where they're looking to kind of take that leap, okay? So, Flying Monkey, the earth is flat and it has watermarks. Yeah, isn't, God, you know, so much for the good old days, right? There we go. All right. So Kayla K, I need help making my photos look more professional rather than looking as if a family member took the photo. I want to look like a real model, not a girl posting pictures on her blog. So Kayla, you're the subject of your photos? So Kayla, give me a little bit more feedback. If you want to look more like a real model, not a girl posting pictures on her blog, who's taking the pictures? And what kind of settings are you, like, are they in a studio like this? Or are you like taking them in your house? Give me a little more information there, okay? So, all right, let's see here. Scrolling on up. West End Callum. What would seamless paper would you suggest for mainly acting headshots and 3/4 lengths? Looking at 53-inch, but not sure if 86-inch would be better. And then there's a second part to the question. The paper ideally needs to fit in a car, as I don't have a home studio and I shoot on location. Cheers in advance. Pleased to finally get to watch a TogChat Live. Okay, so cool. That's a great question. 53 inches would be great, but honestly, depending on what your needs are and how you like to shoot, and since you need it to fit in a car, and then the other question is, since you're using the word cheers, I'm guessing you're maybe in Europe. Maybe not, right? But just maybe. The reason I bring that up is because cars in Europe tend to be a lot smaller than here in the US. You might want to consider a collapsible background, like, you know, this type of a background. that, like the collapsible reflectors, it's going to fold up, really small. And no, I'm sorry, but you don't get the pleasure of seeing me try to fold that damn thing. I can do the regular reflectors and flip them and do all kind of stuff, but that one beats me every time. So, but yeah, 53-inch for doing headshots is more than enough. I'll tell you why I suggest the collapsible ones, Wes Callum. Depending on what you need to shoot, you have a background that's nice and tall if you need a nice vertical portrait, or you can go horizontal and hang it horizontally. So if you have a light stand with a boom arm, you can mount it from a boom. It's got like Velcro straps and it'll hang because they're super, super lightweight. And you can get them in all different colors. You can get them with different textures. You can get them dual-sided. So, just one other possibility. Obviously, with a gray color like that, that one has a little bit of texture to it. But if you see my video about working with gray, I can, use colored gels. I can turn that into any color I want. I can blow it out. I can make it white. I can use the inverse square law. I can make it black. So it's actually incredibly versatile. So, I would suggest considering something like that, okay? All right, keep those questions coming, gang. I'm gonna work backwards for the ones that came in earlier, and then we'll get to these ones that are coming in now. So let's see. All right, so Gord Smith, not to mention that when the slow mode is off, the comments go by so fast that no one can read them. I mean, no offense, gang. Please don't take this the wrong way. I'd be happy if people weren't reading them. Isn't the idea to kind of have a discussion here? Just saying. But so let's see, Alejandre, or Alexander, sorry. I know it's not your thing, but can you give some tips about AI servo focus mode? I'm shooting street races like a marathon with a Canon 70 to 200 f4 first version and getting lots of out of focus pictures with the Canon 5D Mark II and a T4i. I hate to say it because it's going to sound like one of those snipey things, but the first thing is I would get rid of that Canon if you need to have like super great, super fast autofocus. Just would. Yeah, I'm not, for sports, honestly, I'm not familiar with their focus modes and how they work. I will say this. So this is not a Joe rant, but this is also not a popular sentiment. All of this great new technology we have, including, AI autofocus features from Olympus. So again, I'm not dumping on any camera brand here, folks, right? I'm actually dumping on you guys, photographers. All of this new technology that we're getting, it's making photographers soft. It's making photographers less skilled. There are certain subject matters, sports in particular, that require a skill set. Part of that skill set is understanding your sport, right? Sports Illustrated photographers, best examples in the world. These guys know sports like nobody knows sports. I didn't say no sports photography. I said they know sports. In order to be a great sports photographer, you have to know the sport that you are photographing in order to be able to anticipate where, when, and how the action will occur. Extremely important. We've talked about it many times. Photography, advanced features are much, much more accessible and affordable today than they've ever been. So more people pick up the camera, more people try these things. And honestly, that's great. So please, this is not the old guy griping about, what it used to be like. No, it's just saying, look, the problem of it is this gear can't get the job done on its own. Now I will make the old guy statement. Back when I learned how to shoot sports as a teenager, my first big telephoto lens on my Nikon F1 was a 200 millimeter f4 lens. At that point in time, this is how old I am, zoom lenses sucked. At that point in time, Nikon had not yet released a 200 millimeter f2.8. They had a 180 2.8, but not the 200 2.8. So I had a 200 millimeter f4. And I happened to have a motor drive for my Nikon F. I bought them used from a retiring newspaper photographer. I was really excited about learning how to shoot sports. So What I did literally for about 3 months straight, I would come home from school every day, and if it wasn't raining outside, I would go into my darkroom, because I had a darkroom at home, and I would bulk load a 36 exposure roll of Tri-X film. Bulk loading meant that you used to be able to buy, for those of you that don't know and never use film, you used to be able to buy film in 100-foot rolls. It was about that big around. You put it in a little gadget called a daylight film loader, and you had reusable 35mm cartridges. And you would tape the end of you open up the little flap, which you could do with the lights on. You would use masking tape. Tape the end of the film onto the spool, put the cartridges together. You always had to make sure that you had no dust on your cartridges, otherwise you scratch the film. But then you would close the flap, and for every turn of the handle, that was 1 exposure of film. So I'd come home from school, I'd load up a 36 exposure roll of film, I'd take my motor drive, I would take my 200mm lens. I did not put the film in it right away. I would go down to the corner of my street, which was a quiet residential street, but there was a busier road. And I would sit on the curb, and I would watch. About 200 yards down the road, there was a big intersection. So I would watch for cars to turn the corner onto that road, and then I would practice keeping the front right hand, so that's the passenger corner, the front right-hand corner of the car in focus as it approached me, passed me, and went away. All manually. There was no autofocus then. I'm not old. After I do that for an hour or so, when I would get to the point where I'm feeling like I've got this down to a science, I'm ready, I would put that roll of film in the camera. The next car, had to be the next car. Next car that came around the corner, boom. I would shoot the entire 36 exposure roll of film as the car approached, passed, and went away, all in manual focus. And then this is how much of a nerd I was, because I really wanted to be good. I would go home to my darkroom, I would develop the roll of film. I never printed these pictures, there was no reason to print them, but I actually had a chart on the wall. And on that chart, I would keep track of how many frames out of 36 the front right-hand corner bumper was tack sharp. And that's how I measured my progress. So, you know, I started out kind of joking and sniping about Canon and their autofocus, et cetera. Look, Canon makes good cameras. So does Nikon, so does Sony, so does Olympus, Panasonic, yeah, even Fuji, and God forbid, even Pentax. They do, right? So in all likelihood, this is a situation where, you know, maybe you do have a camera issue, a technical issue, but more likely you need to put in some practice so that you're actually not expecting too much out of your camera. Because good sports photography, I'm sorry, it requires practice and knowledge of the sport and really, you know, really having a handle on what you're doing. Okay? All right, Tommy, using a 3-light setup, 2 16x48 soft boxes. So that's big. Those are like big strip boxes, right? The 16s, you know, like this, and 48, that's 4 feet tall. With grids, because grids look cooler. And 1 SB softbox 42 inches to the right of the camera. Keep getting hot spots on the tip of their nose and sometimes on the right cheek and forehead. Any suggestions? Yeah. Turn the lights down and move them away, Tommy. Tommy, if you're still here, give me an honest answer. I'm willing to bet that your key light, the 42 incher, right? I'm willing to bet that you're placing it, number one, tilted like this or more, and probably about 3 feet from your subject. That's my bet. So go ahead, correct me, start typing, let me know, and we'll come back to that question, okay? All right, whoops, let me hit the X there we go. Next up here, let's see, I know there were a couple up in the beginning. Mark Dolce, I try to learn something new every day and practice it. A lot of it's your stuff. Thank you, sir. I really, really appreciate that. I'm glad that you find it useful. I really do. So let's see, scrolling up again to the beginning. That's the client management software. Here we go, CL. I started working with other photographers on projects. Okay. My question is, how to cut down the time working on others' photos to make a single photo catalog. We all use different brands. CL, I'm not gonna lie, I don't actually understand your question. So seriously, I'm not trying to be a jerk. So you're working with other photographers on projects. You're trying to figure out how to cut down the time working on others' photos to make a single photo catalog. What do we mean by a photo catalog, and why does it matter what brand? So do you mean like 2 or 3 of you are shooting for the same client and you need all the images to look similar when you're done. Is that what you're asking me? I think that's what you're asking me, but CL, if you're still here, type and let me know, and I will come back to that, okay? Steve Kunder, tell us about this new Explorer program in Get Olympus. Okay, I don't know a whole lot about it, Steve, but I'll tell you here, let me bring it up here. I'll tell you what I've been told, and I will tell you, what I have seen. Bear with me one second, guys, and I'm going to get you the info here that Steve is talking about. So Olympus made an announcement on Monday. Okay, here, I'll switch the screen over. Okay, Olympus made an announcement on Monday they did the announcement on Facebook, Instagram, etc. This is a program that you're going to see primarily on Instagram, is my understanding. So it's starting with these 5 photographers. My understanding is the program will grow, that they are actively seeking out other people. But before you all start rushing, let me give you what the criteria are, right? And a lot of this criteria you can figure out yourself. So first of all, these 5 photographers, who, by the way, are amazing, like truly amazing. They are all essentially explorers. They travel the world. They are full-time Instagrammers. If you look at their Instagram profiles, you will notice that post after post after post is sponsored. So these guys are living the dream, right? They're doing the Instagram thing. They have companies giving them cars to try out. They, have companies giving them all kind of products to use, and then they post about it. Most of them have 100,000 or more followers. A couple of them are down in the 20s and 30s, but still 20 to 30,000. So if you're sitting there with like 5,000 Instagram followers, don't waste your time, right? So this is a social program for photographers and social, and literally what Olympus's intent with this is, which I think is a great plan, it's to expand the brand awareness for Olympus. So this is not really geared towards photographers and educating photographers. This is actually geared towards finding people that travel, vacation. Because if you look at the people that follow these explorers, they're not photographers per se. I'm not saying none of them are photographers, but they're people that are interested in travel. There are people that are interested in exploration. And that's a huge category for Olympus. So I think, in that context, I think it's a brilliant program. So yeah, they are new Olympus ambassadors. It's again, as it says on the page there, it's a group of social photographers that are people that are adventurers, travel the world, that kind of stuff. They shoot with Olympus gear, obviously. Some of them are recent converts to Olympus gear, but they do, not gonna lie, they do incredible work. They go to some really, really cool places. But yeah, these are people that are, you read all the time in news about these, full-time Instagrammers. That's these guys, and their work is amazing. So I would encourage you, by all means, check out their profiles. You'll be able to see some of their work there. Follow them on Instagram because, if nothing else, their work is inspiring. I mean, it's absolutely inspiring. I always joke, I will never be like a nature or wildlife photographer because you got to get up way too damn early in the morning, and I don't do winter, right? So that kind of leaves me out of that option. But yeah, this crew, they do some really, really incredible stuff. So check it out. So Steve, that's what the Explorer program is all about. But yeah, if you're sitting there with, a couple thousand Instagram followers, unfortunately, no, you need a lot more than that. Okay. All right. Jean Edward, I usually have assignments scheduled 2 to 3 months in advance. So I've been shooting already for this month, and I have scheduled shoots for up to October. I don't want to burn a bridge, but I want to get paid. So I've been shooting already for So is this all with one client, Jean Edward? Give me some more feedback here. Do you mean this is one client that, yeah, I'm confused by your question. So we all want to get paid, but like, is it somebody that's not paying you? And then my question would be, how long do you have to wait with this client than before they are paying you. So Ellie's got a note here. Last time I promised we talked about how to find clients when you're just starting out. Ellie, I did say that. And you know what? Let me hit some of these questions and I'll tell you what I'll do. So 6:46 now, I'll make sure that we dedicate at least the last 15 minutes to that question. So gang, I'm asking all of you, if you're gonna be here, remind me, all right? 7:15 my time, right? So that's like 30 minutes from now, 29 minutes from now. Remind me that I promised I would talk about that, and I will, because it's a great topic. And my answers might surprise you a little bit, okay? Jeffrey Newman from the UK. I need help with black faces not being light enough, so at a wedding, all the faces are well exposed, but the black ones are too dark. Any suggestions? Well, you know, anytime you've got multi-raced groups of subjects, Jeffrey, right? Because honestly, it doesn't even have to be a difference between one race or another. It can be different from a person that's, you know, really tanned to a person that's like really pale. I mean, you know, here in the U.S., I could take somebody from Florida, a you know, white Caucasian person from Florida with an amazing tan and put them next to a fashion model in New York, and I'm going to wind up with exposure problems between the two. Generally, for me, if I'm dealing with a situation like that, I'm going to protect my highlights. In other words, I don't want the white people being blown out. My cameras, and pretty much every camera in the market today, it's going to give me enough dynamic range that if that person of color is looking underexposed, all I have to do in Lightroom or in Photoshop or even, you know, in Luminar or any of those, just grab the shadows slider. And if I bring my shadows up a little bit, it's going to solve that problem and it's not going to really be an issue. The other thing that will help a little, it's not going to solve your problem, and it may not be practical at weddings, and that is to use softer light sources like larger soft boxes and bigger modifiers. Obviously at weddings, that's not always practical, right? Because you need to be portable, you need to be on the go, it needs to be stuff that you can carry easily. And setting up big soft boxes and that become trip hazards and liabilities, right? But indeed, softer, more even lighting is also going to help with some of that disparity. When you're working with really small modifiers or direct flash, it's tough. It's absolutely tough. So, okay? So I hope that helps out a little bit. Let me get down again here at the end and see if I got some of those answers to my questions. Let's see here. All right, so from CL, so this is the one where he was working with a bunch of different photographers on some photo catalog. What he meant is when he completes the photos in Adobe and exports them into a file, how does he integrate each set of photos from each photographer between changing the names one by one? Well, actually, you don't have to change the names one by one, CL. If you use a program like Adobe Bridge, you can, and actually, I'm pretty sure you can do, somebody help me out. Can't you do a batch rename in Lightroom? You should be able to, right? But if you do a batch rename, that's going to be the easiest way to do it. And again, I'm not sure about Lightroom, but in Adobe Bridge, I can sort manually. So if it's a matter of you're worried about, you know, not just having them grouped by photographer and renaming them, but you want a different order, well then what I would do is use something like Bridge, and I think Lightroom also lets you sort manually. Sort them into the order that you want them, and then do a batch rename after that, and that's actually going to be really easy and really quick to do. Okay. Sorry, so Jean-Edward is telling me that I actually read the second part of his question. So let me get up here and find the first part. Sorry, guys. Scrolling up. So there's the part that I read. And here's the first part of Jean-Edward. So commercial client he works with on a monthly basis for 1+ years. Standard pay 30 days after the shoot. So it's net 30. As of today, you're 30 plus 21 days late. Tried to call, email, no response. What we suggest I do next. I get it. Okay. So, and then the second part of his question was, he usually has assignments scheduled 2 to 3 months in advance. So he's been shooting already for this month, and he has shoots scheduled for up to October. I don't want to burn a bridge. Well, you know, I've burned a lot of bridges in my career. let me start with that statement. So it's a little bit of cleansing. I'm going to own it. I am not encouraging you guys to randomly go out and burn bridges. In fact, you know, we are taught in today's world, which is a much more politically correct world. Well, at least it used to be. Much more politically correct world than what I was brought up in. We are taught to avoid burning bridges at all costs. And I support that thought process. But the problem is, you know, it's business, right? So if a client is routinely not paying you, or routinely paying you late, or if a client is not answering your calls, not responding, etc., it's actually very disrespectful. Now, depending on your relationship with that client, and when I say relationship, how much do you trust them? How long have you known them? How long have you worked for them? How faithful have they been? Is this a new problem that they're suddenly paying late, or has this been an ongoing thing? You know, before you jump to any conclusions, you do want to try and maybe read between the lines a little bit. Try and kind of figure out, hey, is there something going on with them that maybe I've kind of been missing? And then, you know, try reaching out to them again and saying, hey, like, look, this is not like you. You're always quick to respond to my messages. I'm not hearing from you. We're way past doing an invoice, and you owe me money for new invoices for stuff that I shot, and I've got 2 shoots from you this month. I need to talk to you. I can't go do these 2 shoots unless I know that I'm going to get paid. You know, if there's something going on or you're having a cash flow issue, please talk to me. Talk to me so that I can at least understand what the situation is, and I will gladly try to work with you. Try, the operative word there, right? You know, unfortunately, gang, when you run a business, sometimes you have to have the tough conversations, right? You just do. And it is tough. You know, and unfortunately, I can't tell you all these stories, but I can tell you I've had 2 of those kind of tough conversations with clients of mine in the past week. And sometimes you just have to do it. You have to stand up for yourself in your business. You have to protect your interests and your assets, and you have to protect your workflow. So I'm not recommending that you jump to any conclusions, just burn a bridge, but indeed, being a little bit more assertive, you run that risk that they say, F you, goodbye, right? But let's face it, if you're not getting your money, then what bridge are you burning, right? So there's a balance point here. So you have to be tactful and be honest. You have to leave room for a solution, and you have to leave room for understanding and make them aware of that, right? That's kind of the key. It's always very easy to say, you owe me money. You haven't paid me. I feel this way. That's easy, right? Any jerk can do that. And actually, I shouldn't even call that person a jerk, because if somebody owes you money, then it's kind of deserved, right? It's a lot harder to say, hey, you owe me money. I haven't been paid. I feel this way, but I'm worried and I'm concerned. Are you struggling with something? Is there a bigger issue that I'm not aware of? Is there any way that I can help you to work this out? Right? That takes more effort. That takes empathy. Unfortunately, around the world right now, many of our world leaders, many of the people that we look to as examples, do not understand the concept of empathy. So that's a challenge. But that would be my advice, John Edward. I don't think that, you know, I don't think that you should shy away from being a little bit more assertive to, you know, in terms of trying to get an answer from them. But I think that, you know, you definitely, you're at a point where you need to have a conversation before you start doing a lot more work, right? Jimmy Hill asked about marketing last week, and I'll be pleased to know that you found a cheaper direct mail service and you're putting the savings towards a premium LinkedIn account. Awesome, Jimmy, that's great. Believe me, like I said, the premium LinkedIn account is amazing. So folks, for those of you that may not have been here, Jimmy is using like a direct mail service. He's based in New York, so he's been using direct mail for marketing. Direct mail, in case you don't know, is very expensive. It's pricey, okay? Not to mention you have to create assets for it, et cetera. That takes time, effort, et cetera. It's, you know, it's expensive. The payoff can be well worth it, but it's expensive. So one of the things that we discussed was getting a LinkedIn premium account, which I believe it's close to $500 a year. They're not cheap, but it gives you incredible access to people. So it's still not a fix-all, because the requirement is still that you've got to put an effort for research. You've got to put an effort for communicating with people, reaching out to people, talking to people. But to me, I think, Jimmy, that ultimately you will find that you're going to get a better return for your time and your effort for that. So I will look forward to kind of how that new adventure, goes for you, and let me know. So, okay. All right. Let's see here. Michael, so, all right, let's address this. This is fair. Michael says, people don't pay you when they don't want to pay you. Empathy is wasted. I disagree, Michael. I completely disagree, okay? Maybe your experiences in life have been different than mine, but, I will tell you this about me. The advice that I give you guys about business comes from mistakes, not textbooks. It's not stuff I've read. I didn't learn it in a YouTube video. It's experiences that I've had. And believe me, I have made every mistake in the book when it comes to business. Every mistake. I started a business with a wife and a kid at home when I was in my mid-20s, thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to be a portrait wedding photographer. I had no clue on so many levels. Not just the business aspect of it, but also the shooting in a studio aspect, all of it. It was the dumbest thing ever. So I made tons of mistakes, right? So, the fact that empathy is wasted, I disagree, because here's why. In the course of making those mistakes, when I was younger, I almost defaulted on a loan, a business loan from a bank. I literally was in the process of having a car repossessed with a wife and a toddler at home because of my stupidity of thinking that I could start a business and be successful just because I was a good photographer. And thank God, literally the next block from where I lived and where my studio was, and from where my car was being put on a tow truck, was the bank and the loan officer that gave me the loan. Obviously, the guy that was there to repossess the car was not going to let me off the hook and show me empathy. He was doing his job. So I ran to the bank and I pleaded with this man. I told him my circumstances, no BS, laid my cards on the table, and he showed empathy, and he gave me a chance. My car didn't go away. I kept my end of the bargain and paid that loan off 2 years earlier than I had agreed to when I took out the loan, because I worked my ass off. For me, it was actually a huge wake-up call about how much I didn't know and how stupid I had been. And having a wife and a child at home is a great motivator. There have been many other times in my life where when it comes to business, people have shown me empathy. Give me a chance. Give me a break. So, yeah, Michael, I do agree with you, sir. If somebody intends to screw you, they're going to screw you, right? They just are. But a smart business person, Michael, and this is important, and I'm not implying that you're not. I don't know if you are a business person or not, right? So please, this is not a personal statement about you. Generalized statement. A smart business person doesn't look at their clients as a source of money. A smart business person understands that their clients are part of their family, their business family, their work family. Treat them well, and they will treat you well. Treat them well, and you become a part of their family because you support their business, which by default supports their family. Okay? So, Darkling, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. So, yeah, Michael, I mean, if we want to take the glasses half empty approach, I don't disagree with you. I don't on those terms. But I have to say, I do prefer to take the glasses half full. And while there are people that will indeed treat you that way and be that black and white about it, cut and dry, and show no empathy, even with all the crap that goes on today, I still have to hope. I still have to hope that there are people with empathy and people that it matters. And I've tried to bear that out in my business. And believe me, I'm a guy that, I have my limits. I'll get to a point where I'll kick and scream and fight. And if it means cutting ties with somebody and moving on, then so be it. But I'm going to do everything I can to perfect that relationship first before I give up. Because it's just like any other relationship, right? It's no different than, when you're young and you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. It's right. Not every relationship can be saved. It just can't be. But you at least got to try. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing, right? So anyway, that's it. And then actually, S. Broderick, this is also a very good point. It's kind of a, a business thing. Sometimes your relationship is with someone other than the one that cuts the check. Always be aware of that aspect, because sometimes it can make a big difference to become really friendly with the people that cut the check, right? So yes, having the conversation, it is worth it, okay? Mark Dolce, it's all about the approach, give people the benefit of the doubt. I do agree. So yeah, and guys, seriously, I'm not trying to make Michael the bad guy here, because, again, depending on our experiences, I can totally understand where he's coming from. Believe me, there have been times where I felt that way. I straight up have. But, a big part of what keeps me going at this point in my career, it's the idea that, just like I say at the end of my videos, photography is not a competition. This business stuff, it doesn't have to be a competition. But, we can all survive. There's a gentleman here by the name of Chuck Hill. At least he was here early in the beginning. He's from North Carolina. I first met Chuck, 5 or 6 years ago when I spoke at an event in North Carolina called the Carolina Photo Expo. And actually, it might have been an event before that I did for them. But I talk to you folks a lot about the North Carolina PPA group. So it's PP of NC, Professional Photographers in North Carolina. So they're one of the regional branches of PPA, Professional Photographers in America. One of the lessons that I learned from this group was at the time that I first met them, I was as competitive as the next guy. And, even in my teaching, because they hired me to come and teach, even in my teaching, I was still kind of cagey in the sense that I wanted to teach people, but I was teaching from the standpoint of, I know more than you do. I wasn't teaching from a standpoint of actually helping someone. And I spent the first event, and then not long after that, the second event with them. And here's a group of photographers that many of them are in small towns in North Carolina. And I found it confusing, like mind-boggling at first, because there were towns where there would be 2 or 3 or even 4 or 5 portrait and wedding photographers in the same small town. And they all got along. They were all really friendly. In fact, they all helped each other. They all supported each other. They came together at these events and they were like a big family. Like, it was cool. It was really cool. And it was eye-opening. And, I never had the chance to tell them that, but it's actually had a lot to do, their example, with how I wound up approaching teaching and how I approach what I do today. Because the fact of the matter is, they are a proof positive as a group that, if we work together and we help each other, we lift everybody up. Everybody wins. Yes, everybody's got to buy into that plan. Everybody's got to be willing to put in the hard work. Everybody has to be willing to put in the effort. And certainly, I'm sure that they, from time to time have people that come in and don't, right? But as a group, those are values that they maintain. And those are values that help them all thrive and succeed. And so, so again, just to give you guys the context, I'm not asking for, any pats on the back or anything like that. I just want to be honest. Like, I think that the supporting each other thing is just incredibly important. So, okay. Mark Dolce, customer service is a big part of the business. They'll come back if your images are not that, they'll come back if your images are not that good. They'll remember how you made them feel. Oh, indeed, absolutely. And that's a quote that's been, kind of spun around multiple different ways over the years, but it's very appropriate. It's the experience that you provide, gang. It's the experience that you provide that is ultimately going to allow you to build your business. It's not going to be the quality of your work. The quality of your work is expected. The quality of your work is a given, right? It's the experience that you provide that builds that, relationship, okay? So, Haley Beach, cannot agree more. Support from within our network is so important. I appreciate that, seriously. I mean, it really is. And to be clear, there are a lot of other groups around the country that are very good about this. The North Carolina group for me was indeed like a huge eye-opener. And even people like Chuck, interestingly enough, these are people that I've only seen face-to-face a few times in my career, but they have remained supportive of me. They have remained in communication with me. I still follow them. I see the things that they do. I'm really looking forward to going back to their event next year. I'm going back to the Carolina Photo Expo finally next August. If you follow me on Facebook, they're the folks that just did the rap video that I'm in there. So, Eric, oh gosh, Eric, thank you so much for the super chat, man. I really, really appreciate it. FN89, I am going to get that question at 7:15. I'm going to do it. So thank you for the reminder. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Sliding up here. I know there's a couple other things. There was something right before. Another question from Michael. The Olympus 60mm macro f2.8 lens, does it shoot far enough away to avoid reflection in your image when taking a photo? Michael, honestly, so that depends on what you're shooting, right? If it's a really reflective surface, if you're trying to do like a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1, then it's going to be pretty close. But if it's a small enough object, it may also be close enough that it's essentially obliterating the reflection. So, I would suggest, so like one thing that a lot of Olympus shooters do, which is kind of cool, but kind of crazy and cool. Okay, it's kind of crazy, but it's really cool because it works, is they'll do macro shots with a 300mm lens. Because remember, the 300mm lens on an Olympus camera, micro four thirds, that's the equivalent of a 600mm focal length. But its closest focal distance is crazy short. So you're able to get really close to your subject, and then you've got this 600mm focal length. You can essentially do macro from a few feet away. So the challenge that you run into there, Michael, is let's say you're photographing a bug that's got like a big round glossy eye. I don't know, but just as an example. Well, the problem with that is you're far enough away that you're not going to see your reflection, but you're going to see the reflection of the sky, whatever else is going on, because you've got this big round surface. So the only way you're ever actually going to avoid reflections when you're doing macro work is to have some type of thing to block it. A lot of macro photographers will take out like a piece of foam board or board and cut a hole through it so that as they come down on the subject, if there is reflectivity, it's reflecting into a black board. Or for that matter, you can reflect into a white board, right? But what you're doing then is you're essentially creating a different reflection. So that's really kind of the more effective way to handle it, is create your own reflection instead of worrying about, am I going to not get a reflection, that type of stuff. I can tell you the 60mm 2.8 is like an amazing lens. But that's kind of the challenge, is it really depends on exactly what you're shooting. So, Pets, have you had months that you couldn't find new gigs? Oh my God, yeah. I mean, fortunately not now. Things are good now, right? But yeah, in my career, absolutely. And there's a couple things, that hopefully go without saying, but they're worth repeating. Number one, you can't kind of let that psych you out and say, oh my God, I suck. You can't decide, oh, the sky is falling. You can't decide, oh, I'm finished, time to move on. If the phone's not ringing, then you got to work harder. You got to go to people. Then probably the number one mistake, and this is not a statistic, this is an opinion, okay? But I think you can all, especially if you're trying to make money, I think you can all find a little bit of yourselves in this statement. Hopefully this is not who you are now, and this is not where you are now, but you've probably gone through this. I think one of the biggest mistakes that new photographers make, and when I say new photographers, I mean photographers turning pro, especially full-time, is getting a logo done, building a website, shooting a big portfolio, sticking it on the internet, maybe taking out some Facebook ads, and then expecting the phone to ring. Worst idea ever. You know that business that I told you about earlier when I almost had my car repossessed? This was back in the mid to late 80s. I took out an ad in the yellow pages because I'm so damn old. That's how you marketed yourself then, in the yellow pages. And it was expensive. I spent that money. I was all like, wow, look at me. I've got an ad in the yellow pages. And guess what? Phone didn't ring. And I spent extra money to get a big quarter-page ad so I would stand out. Phone didn't ring. So that was where I learned that concept. You know, at that point, you got to make it ring, okay? And back then, there was no tagging somebody on Facebook or Instagram. There was no sending somebody an email or going to LinkedIn. There was go walk through doors. Go and walk through doors and introduce yourself and talk to people and build relationships. Start to sound like a theme that you hear me talk about all the time, right? Because those values, those methods are still the best methods today. You find all the photographers are making the big bucks today, big bucks. They're using those old methods. Sure, they use some social media. They have a website. Maybe they even do a few Facebook ads. But they're using those old methods to bring in the big clients and maintain and keep those clients. It's just how it works, dude, right? It is. So let's see here. Oh gosh, Priyabrata? God, I hope I didn't butcher that. I'm so sorry if I did. I'm new to Flash. What is the lighting setup that I should invest in first? I already have a Godox 350. Should I get a more powerful light before I get a modifier or get a stand and a modifier? Oh, easy. I talk about this all the time. Get a stand and get a simple shoot-through umbrella. Simple, cheap, inexpensive. Start with that. Use it until you just can't think of anything else to do with it, but to the point where you've got it mastered. Then add maybe a softbox, right? Then look at adding another light. And the great part is, since you have that Godox, you can start to build later. You can build through the Godox system to the bigger lights as you need them, and they're still going to work with your 350, right? So yeah, keep it simple. Master your lighting first before you empty your pocketbook. Trust me, master your lighting. Keep it simple, work from there. So, Ajax, thank you for sharing experiences, the good and the mistakes. Yeah, trust me, guys, I've had a lot of them. You know, you learn this knowledge through doing things. And again, it's ironic that I'm standing here on YouTube. You don't learn these things from YouTube. YouTube, all the stuff that I tell you, you don't take it as the gospel. You take it as a piece of information to inform your actions. But you still have to take action, gang. You got to get off your ass. You got to go pick up a camera. You got to contact clients. You have to shoot pictures. You have to fail. You have to fail miserably with your camera and at business to learn how to succeed. You just do, right? So unfortunately, that's just part of the process. It's, you know, it's life. That's how it works. All right, so I'm at 7:15 here, and I made a promise earlier, okay? So I believe it was Ellie's question. That's the second part that she posted here. How do you find new clients when you're just starting out? Yep, that was it. So here, this is what she originally typed. Last time I promised that we talk about how to find clients when you're just starting out. So I want to give you kind of a little example set, right? I made a statement just a minute ago about the idea that one of the mistakes that a lot of photographers make is, you know, they're starting their business and they get a logo and they get business cards and they get a website and then they don't understand why nobody comes, right? So I've had a few people in the last couple of years, generally college students who are about to graduate or who just graduated, so young people, right? Reach out to me, and the question went along the lines of, I'm just out of school, I'm about to get out of school, I really want to make my living as a photographer. In school, they haven't taught me anything about how to run a business or how to make... Ryan, thank you so much for the super chat, man. I really appreciate it. They haven't taught me anything about that stuff. And the problem that I have is I've got my gear, but I don't know how to make money. And I can't afford like a fancy website. And I can't afford all kind of advertising. And I can't afford to pay for like Facebook ads and this and that. So, you know, in many of those cases, these were photographers that wanted to do portraiture, maybe weddings, etc. And what I did is I helped them edit their portfolios down, way down. Remember, when it comes to a portfolio and a website, you can look like a rock star with 5 pictures. Or you can look like a hack with 10, right? So you're never going to impress clients with how many pictures you have. It's how good are your pictures. The fewer the pictures, the better you look. Simple marketing, period, right? So what I did is I helped them trim their portfolios down and then really tuned them into how social media works, Ellie, and how to properly use social media. So here, let me get you the links. I have a couple of videos on my YouTube channel. I'm going to switch the screen over here so that there. If you go to the YouTube channel and you just type in social media, okay, these 2 videos, and they come up right there. So there's the first one. I'll give you the links here in the chat window. It boggles my mind how many photographers, especially young photographers, millennials or Generation Zers, suck. Capital letters, suck at social media. So the first step is actually learn how to do social media. And these photographers that I worked with were able to do a very, very good job of building a following without a website, without taking out a single Facebook ad. They did it by building relationships. They did it by providing value to people who did follow them online. And they did it by creating word of mouth online. Word of mouth is still the best way to find new clientele. Not a website, not ads, word of mouth. Social media is an amazing platform for creating good word of mouth and doing it quickly. But you still got to work at it, right? So honestly, Ellie, that's where you start. Now, Ellie, I do have another question for you. So I want you to type, if you're still here, hopefully you are. What kind of clients are you looking for? What type of photography are you hoping to do? I should have asked you that before, but type that in and I'll come back, okay? All right. Next question I got here. Alan, any questions about going from shooting for free to getting paid for your work? I noticed that people always ask for free TFP shoots, what to do. He shoots portraits, he did say in a follow-up. Just tell people, you know, you appreciate that they were willing to get in front of your camera and hopefully they appreciate what you did for them, but you can't keep taking pictures for free forever. That's all. And Alan, some of them are going to go away and they're never going to come back. But that's okay, right? You have to make the decision, am I going to run a business or not run a business, right? Business that doesn't make money is business done for fun, and it fails. So it's really just a matter of, you know, saying, look, I can't work for free anymore. And understanding that most of those people that you shot for free, they're just not going to come back. That happens. It's part of the process. The mistake, Alan, was you never should have shot for free in the first place. Once you start to get serious about photography, there always should have been some kind of a hook, some kind of a catch. But so be it. You know, looking over your shoulder is not going to help. It's a matter of looking forward. You just have to establish a set of prices, and you have to move forward, and those are your prices. Done. Period. And you will lose some people that you think are friends of yours, right? Not close friends, but you know, they're photography friends because they loved what you did for free. But you know, ultimately, that's okay, right? All right. On QQ, I have 2 studio strobes, a 600 watt second and a 300 watt second, but no portable lights. Should I buy a new portable strobe or just get a battery pack that will let me plug in my studio strobes? It depends on what you want to do. I mean, I guess my first question is, why do you think you need portable lights? I'm assuming you want to go out and shoot on location, right? It really depends on, your tolerance for dealing with the extra gear, right? Certainly you can buy a battery pack knowing that, you know, battery packs have limitations, but so do the battery packs in portable strobes, right? So there are limitations with battery packs, but likewise, you have limitations. If you want to shoot on a beach, it's going to be hard to plug in a strobe, right, to AC power. Your studio strobes at 600 and 300 watt seconds generally tend to be a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier, ironically. You know, Godox has done a great job of making strobes smaller while still including lithium batteries, which is awesome. You know, on cue, it depends a lot on your budget, and it depends on your tolerance for having to carry around the heavier gear. Certainly in a perfect world, if you can afford it, get portable stuff. It's going to make your life so much easier, right? But it's really going to be a matter of what you can afford and kind of why you need to do it and how often do you think you can do it. If you're only going to go outside and shoot on location occasionally, well, maybe you just suck it up for those occasions, right? If you want to do it a lot, if you're really looking to kind of branch off into a slightly different genre or whatever, well, then it may be worth your while, you know, making that investment. So I apologize that it's not a do this answer. It really depends on you know, those factors. So going back to Ellie's question about finding a new client, she's looking to do prom, senior photo shoots. So all right, Ellie, that's actually awesome. So right out of the box, number one, you need to get on Facebook, you need to get on Instagram, but you need to get where these kids are. So let's say I went to a high school named North Penn High School, right? So if the high school in your town is North Penn High School, what you want to start doing is you want to start shooting some kids, go out and find some students, preferably juniors. And if you're just getting started with this, do it now. Find the kids that are what they call rising juniors. They're going to be juniors this school year, right? Offer them free pictures, like 5 of them. You want to get the quarterback of the football team. You want to get the head cheerleader, the cheerleading squad, right? You want to get the cool kids, the really good-looking kids. Get them in front of your camera. You tell them, look, I'll do your pictures for free. In exchange, I get to post them all over social media. And in exchange, you promise to post them on your social media and tag me and tell people that you really enjoyed having me shoot your pictures. Then what you're going to do, when you're posting all their pictures, you're going to be tagging the high school, right? Tagging the high school, hashtagging the high school, all that kind of stuff, right? You're going to incentivize those cool kids. And you're going to tell them, listen, for every kid that you send to me, I'll give you a free 8x10 or a free 11x14 print. Free, as opposed to having to spend, you know, $75 or $100 for it, right? So you incentivize them. But yeah, Ellie, for what you're talking about, it's all about social media. Go where the kids are. You ultimately have to sell the parents, ultimately, because the parents are the ones paying the bill, but ain't nothing happening if the kid don't like you. So you're marketing to the kids, right? That's literally where you're going to start, okay? All right, let's see. DC Photo 4, maybe for a different chat, do you have any experience working with old school makeup for black and white photography? Yeah, a ton, but actually it's a simple answer. It's just, it's more contrast. More contrast and more contouring. So if there's something more specific you're looking for there, DC Photo, tell me. But literally, in short summary, makeup that is going to be for black and white. It's more contrast, more contouring. So, okay. All right, going back to Alan. You actually said what has happened. Lot's not coming back, but I told him I don't free shoots anymore. I thought it was me who's being a jerk. No, Alan, you're not being a jerk, but. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, so let me explain this. I'm not saying you did this. If you just said, hey, I can't do free shoots anymore, you're going to have to pay me, you're being a jerk. In their minds. I don't think you're a jerk, but in their minds, yeah, you're being a jerk. If you said, hey, I love shooting with you, but look, I've gotten to a point now where I've got all this gear, and I would really like to get rid of my day job. I really want to do this full time. I can't keep shooting for free. I am blessed to have been able to work with you. I really love that you were willing to work with me, but you know, I can't do it without making money. I have to go after paid clients. Now you're not being a jerk. Now what you could do, maybe there's a way that you can work out a little better trade and say, well, look, you know, maybe it's a matter of every now and then you're going to go back to that person and you have an idea that you think will be good for marketing you. So you go back and you say, hey, listen, I'll do a shoot for you. But this is what I want to shoot, and I need you, you know, to sign a release, whatever. But no, basically, you just got to understand that, and you have to make them understand. So yeah, if you just say, hey, I can't shoot you anymore for free, well, yeah, and then in their mind, you're being a jerk. If you explain it, I'm not saying they're going to say, oh, great, here, let me open my wallet. No, but at least they're not going to think you're a jerk, right? So DC Photo 4, this is the black and white makeup question. It says follow-up, specifically using unconventional colors like green lipstick, etc. for better tones. My vague understanding that is in the oh yeah, but you know what? You could do that. So greens and reds are the colors that are going to give you, you know, the best use of the tonal range for black and white. The difference that it's going to make in your images at this point is so small, because what you have to understand, DC Photo 4, is that back then we didn't have the ability to manipulate hues, H-U-E-S, hues. Now we can. And now, even though you're planning a black and white shot and you're going to do makeup for it, you're going to shoot it in RAW, and then you're going to do the conversion. And as you're doing the conversion, you can play with the hues on any of those colors to manipulate them. So, yeah, I mean, have I ever done that? No, not at all. I have heard that that was done. I've actually never seen examples where anybody actually taught how to do it. But I can say that we have so much better technology today. I just don't think that it's worth the effort, because I can recreate that tonal range easily by using hues and saturations, even though I'm going into a black and white conversion. So, Ellie, going back to the how do you find a client? So you just go to school and meet them? No. They'll think you're a stalker. They'll call the police. Bad idea. Ellie, there's this thing called social media. You need to go watch my seriously, go watch my 2 videos. All right? You're going to find these kids online. You're going to start to follow them. All right? You're going to post, you know, notices. You're going to communicate. It's about building relationships. But first, you're going to start the relationships online, and then you'll get to go and meet them and photograph. But my God, don't just show up at a school. Worst idea ever. Especially not if you're in the United States. That would be a really bad idea. And even probably in Europe, would probably not go over too well. So yeah, you want to build that relationship online. Watch those 2 videos, Ellie. They're not going to give you exactly the answer you're looking for, but they're going to give you a lot of really useful information that I think is going to help you kind of get a slightly better grasp of what we're talking about. And then I promise you, if you come back next week with a follow-up based on what you've learned, I will talk more about this, okay? But let's kind of get some of that basic information in, so you kind of understand a little bit of kind of the concept that I'm trying to, you know, get across here. And then it's going to be a lot easier to help you kind of make sense about how to really put it to use, okay? All right. I see somewhere earlier here, somebody was talking about the video that I did about how to fix shiny skin in Lightroom and Photoshop. So here is the link for that. Just dumping that in there. Cool. So also, too, a little heads up for those of you that are Micro Four Thirds users. So, you know, if you're Olympus, Panasonic, whatever, don't forget Mirrorless Minutes on YouTube. It starts tonight, 8 o'clock. It's their 5-year anniversary. Jamie McDonald, Mike Baining, fellow Olympus Visionaries. So, you know, if you're wanting to do a little bit more talking and chatting about Micro Four Thirds, go for it. All right, let's try and get one last one here. Kayla asked me before about doing modeling pictures. I want to make my pictures look more professional, so I can look more like a model. So you're taking the pictures by yourself, or setting up a camera and a timer. So, I mean, Kayla, unfortunately, the only way you're going to do that is to, you know, learn photography, learn lighting, learn composition, and understand that you can do really good self-portraits, but it's just a lot harder. You know, Kayla, if you're attractive enough to be a model, right? So we're treading on thin ice here, so let me try to be honest and sincere. If you are attractive enough to be a model, so in other words, if you're just talking about modeling for fun, that's a whole different thing, right? But if you're hoping to maybe go out and get work as a model, you're going to have to learn to work in front of other people's cameras. And believe me, there is no shortage of photographers anywhere in the world that wants to work with attractive women and photograph them. Depending on where you are in the world, go to a website like Model Mayhem, or go to a website like Purpleport if you're in Europe, and you'll be able to find plenty of people that would be, you know, willing to photograph you. Okay, so that's where I would start with that. Okay, all right, gang. Whew. As always, you guys come through. We started out with like 3 questions in the queue, and I know I still missed a couple. I know a couple of you guys had some Olympus-specific questions that you also posted on social media. I will reach out to you in social media. Obviously, I love Olympus, you know, but I want to try not to make the TogChat all about Olympus. I'd like to really make it about shooting photography. So I will answer your questions. Guys, as always, get out there, take pictures this week. Please, 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 please don't spend all your time on YouTube. Somebody asked me, also there was a question posted about Mr. Northrup's video about megapixels. I don't know what you want me to say. His information is not incorrect, except he glosses over one extremely important aspect. He's holding those prints that are crops right here. Nobody looks at a picture right here, right? So unfortunately, he's arguing half a point. And so if you only argue half the point, his statements are absolutely correct. The other thing I will point out to you is when he shows the 8x10 print hanging on the wall, and then he puts the 3-foot print on the wall, talk to an interior designer. I'm pretty sure they would say that the 3-foot print on the wall would look hideous. So I'm just saying, you know, I don't think he's necessarily an expert in interior design, right? So that's all I got to say about that. It's another anxiety-inducing video for photographers that don't have the experience to know what's going on there, okay? So anyway, gang, have a great week. Go shoot. And as always, please remember.
Thanks for watching another live episode of TogChat. Now, pick up that camera and shoot something, because your best shot is your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.